And everyone's like, oh shit, I like this fitness thing. I can make a lot of money. And so what do they focus on first? Marketing and sales. They're like, oh, my sales skills aren't good enough. Oh, my marketing's not good enough. I don't know how to acquire customers. Well, I'm sorry, but the majority of the people out there, you also suck at creating results. I think that the first solution, man, is you got to have something that's really good. And I think we both have experience there. When I first started, the very first time I ever came to you guys, I think it was like 2,000 followers on Instagram, which is nothing by today's standards. And I think at that time, I know I was doing over 100K a month, but I might have almost been to like 200K. And so it was never a game of, being super popular or being an influencer or selling something crazy. It was the fact that I had dug in, I wanted to help people, and I had a certain way of helping people. And as I've gotten to know you guys went into a space and you're like, we're just going to put out great information and we're going to put out the truth, and we're not going to try to be successful overnight. But the people that we connect to, they're going to get what they actually need from us, and they're going to get answers, and it's going to work. And when you start delivering those results, people tell their friends and they tell their friends, and it's like, holy shit, things actually come together and growth happens organically instead of being forced.
Yeah, and I want to get into a little more detail about, you said having a quality product or solving solutions. Some people watching this right now may think, oh, I can get someone to lose 30 pounds, so I can solve their problem, or I can get somebody to, look fit in, 90 days. That's not a solution to the problem. Millions of people every year lose weight. They also gain it back. The real solution is they get fit and healthy forever. Yep. It's not a temporary thing. That's the challenge now. Now it's hard because any idiot could get somebody to lose 30 pounds. Actually, I think everybody knows what they could do to lose 30 pounds right away. Stop eating, chain yourself to a treadmill. It's going to happen. But is that sustainable? Is that healthy? And is that really the way you want to live? And so I'm glad you started there, because you got to know what you're doing, and you got to really solve it, not pretend solve.
Well, it's counter social media culture right now.
Yes.
If everybody goes and they scroll, everybody that's listening to this, if they go scroll Instagram, they scroll Facebook, they get on YouTube, they get pre-rolled, what are you getting hit with? Here's how to make blah, blah, blah money as a coach. And everyone's like, oh shit, I like this fitness thing. I can make a lot of money. And so what do they focus on first? Marketing and sales. They're like, oh, my sales skills aren't good enough. Oh, my marketing's not good enough. I don't know how to acquire customers. Well, I'm sorry, but the majority of the people out there, you also suck at creating results. And I mean, we can all say it. Like, we've been around, and I mean, dude, we've been to local, big box gyms, and you laugh at some of the things that you see trainers doing. And listen, everybody starts somewhere. If I go back to the very first sessions I ever did with my clients, I would probably be laughing at myself. And if I go back to like the very first diet programs I ever wrote when I was like 19 and young and naive, I would probably still laugh at myself too. So we all have like a learning curve. But there was a point where when I went completely online and I was like, I'm going all in, I knew I could deliver results to literally anybody that came my way. I knew I had the principles. I knew I was rooted in science, and I knew that no matter who you were, I could deliver a result. And if I couldn't, I wasn't going to take you on. And that became the foundation of what I did. For us, our whole movement is impact over everything. If I can't help you, I don't want your money. I don't want you wasting your time with me. I want to help you find a resource that can. That's not marketed anywhere. Like, you can't go open up your social media today and find anybody outside of NCI, our friend Jordan and, his certification. You can't find anybody saying like, here's the tools you need to create the best results, because that's not sexy, right? What coaches out there are like, great, I can create amazing results. They have a hard time correlating that to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So instead, what do the marketers do? They put it in your face. They're like, here's millions of dollars. Here's your path to millions of dollars. Except everybody's forgetting the one prerequisite is you actually have to fucking be good at what you do.
I think that's unique to our space too. Like, we were talking off air before, and I was sharing with you like my experience getting into fitness and being interested in the business side. And I felt like back when I first got into it, 2 decades ago, so much of the focus was geared in what Sal was saying, which, you've never heard a trainer say like, I want to make millions of dollars. That's why I'm going to become a trainer. I want to help people.
Yep.
So a lot of the information that was circulating at that time was certifications and how to be a better coach, and, how to program better, and nutrition advice.
That's true.
And just how to be better at your job. But nobody was talking about how to make money. And so
I didn't know any wealthy trainers back then.
No.
That's true.
And so everything was centered around like, and then if we talked about, like if you were asking us 20 years ago, like who are some of the best, the names of the people that you talk were like the brilliant science-based guys, right?
Well, dude, back then we talked about Bill Phillips, right? As like the famous one. And what did everybody say back then? Nobody said Bill Phillips is super rich. Right? Like nobody, they were like, oh, he creates amazing results with Body for Life.
And he had the first $100 million supplement company.
Absolutely.
And he was very rich.
But nobody ever talked about his wealth at that time. Right? They talked about his growth and his presence. Except here's the thing, the world has picked up on different levels of insecurity, and every coach has different levels of insecurity. I actually have a big belief in terms of your own business development is only hindered by your ability to overcome your own insecurities. And so I think that most people that get into health and fitness as a career started with some level of insecurity. They wanted to improve their own body.
100%.
They wanted to improve their own image. Like I know for me, when I started as an anorexic, I had massive insecurities. I wanted to be liked by females. I wanted to be accepted by other alpha males. And so that drove me into an eating disorder. I overcame that. I was like, okay, my next insecurity was I can't help people enough. So the industry, spoke to me. I went and got my degree. I got every certification under the fucking sun. I went and I started helping people. I started creating some results. My next insecurity was, well, this can't be my career. I don't know any business. So then I went and I learned the business stuff, except my next insecurity was like, well, I'm not good enough, right? I was back to the very beginning insecurity. I'm not good enough to be the leader of a business or a movement. I overcame that shit. I built a big business. Now my next insecurity was, well, my knowledge won't be accepted by the industry. It took me forever to write NCI. We wrote that. Back to the same insecurity of I can't lead this movement. Except every time I've overcome an insecurity, it's allowed me to propel myself forward in business. The industry has just picked up on the different levels of insecurity. We're in a very body confident movement right now. And so people are starting to overcome the whole mirror and scale and all that shit. So we can't pander to that. Instead, we have to pander to people's like inability to feel worthy or to feel like they have enough, and especially financially. So we do that. We speak to that insecurity. It's like, oh, you don't have enough money. You can make a lot of money. And that's what's selling right now. And I actually think this will become cyclical. I think that if we are listening to this podcast 5 or 10 years from now, you'll see more knowledge things being talked about because at some point we'll overcome our fear of money.
Well, I think the progression that I saw was beginning, it was all centered around certifications and fitness type knowledge. Nobody was teaching business. Then some smart business e-commerce people saw an opportunity to go take advantage of a space that nobody was teaching that. So then you get all the charlatans who come in that are great at marketing and selling.
Don't know fitness.
Yeah, that don't
Hustlers,
know. Right, that don't know fitness, don't use health, that don't understand that, don't understand what drives most people like insecurities, aren't truly in the business of helping those people. They're all in the business of converting leads. And so then you have that group of people that are teaching the fitness space how you do this and you go about it. And so we're really at this time where we're finally starting to see, and I felt that was kind of how our relationship started to develop, of people that have that knowledge in the space as far as the science, they care about people, that's their motive, and then they've learned the marketing side and now can teach that to people how to do it the right way.
Well, I know for me, the only reason I learned business was one, I needed to grow my own. But number two, when we started certifying coaches in NCI, I knew that we had like the most talented group of humans. Like I know our certs are hands down the best in the world. I know we create the best application in the world, except I saw these people that could create amazing results. They didn't know how to get clients. They didn't know how to systemize a business. They didn't know how to scale a business.
Right.
And I said, okay, it's incumbent upon me now as the leader of NCI to go out and be like, okay, here's the tools you need to actually touch more people. And we all know that income is just a function of impact. Like if you are touching enough lives, you're changing enough lives, helping enough people, you're making more and more money. And that was like where we started. I actually learned all the business stuff by necessity. I think now like we're really, really good at it. And I think obviously we're going to share here shortly like what people can learn from this. But that was never my start game. And I think that there's so many people right now, that's where they're starting.
Yeah. You know, it's funny when Adam, you made me really go back to when I started as a trainer. I was an 18-year-old kid, so passionate about fitness, and I had no concept of how much money. I lived with my parents, and they took care of everything. I had no bills. And I remember showing my checks to my parents and them going like, oh my God, you're making a lot of money. And it didn't register to me. Really what I wanted to do was keep training and helping more people. And so I think it's obvious. It sounds funny. It's business 101, right? Be good at your craft. But we have to remind people, like, before you do anything else, you got to be a good coach. You got to be a good trainer. You got to know how to get people where they want to go. You have to start there. Everything else isn't going to work very well for you, at least not long term, if you're not at least good at what you do.
Oh yeah, and speaking of the insecurity of that was my experience of seeing all the trainers when I first started, was just like being confident enough to know that you have this value that these clients are seeking out. And to be able to sell yourself was a very difficult process for trainers, when all they wanted to do was run them through the workouts and really educate them. But selling themselves was like always the sticking point where the confidence just wasn't there. And to be able to kind of cross over that and start building, that into the way you present, information, and to be able to ask for what you need to be able to create a viable business for yourself was like such a difficult process.
Yeah. Well, at that time too, we were all lied to. Like, we were told to, sell the package, which is a horrible thing to sell, and then sell the process. And so you're sitting in the sales seat, having just overcome insecurity of being able to deliver. And now you're expected to actually be able to, not only are you selling that hour process, you're selling belief in yourself that may not even exist yet. Right.
Yes.
Right. And that's the sad reality. That's why a lot of people suck at sales, is they're trying,
dread it, right?
Yeah, they're trying to sell a belief that they don't currently have, I can't deliver this result.
Selling a lie,
you can't fake it.
Sociopaths can do it, but really selling a lie is hard. I have to believe. If I believe in what I'm selling, I'm gonna sell it better than anybody. If I don't believe in it, it ain't gonna happen. And that's true for 99% of the people out there.
And that's where I think levels of insecurity come in. I think, people always ask me, what's the fastest way to level up in business? Get better.
Yeah.
But part of getting better is self-awareness and self-mastery. Our lowest level program that we sell in NCI is a program called Coaching Mastery. And there's 3 levels of mastery. So like mastery of self, mastery of connection, mastery of marketplace. There's a reason we don't start in marketplace. Right? If you don't overcome your own shit, if you can't identify your own stories, if you can't identify what's holding you back, and obviously we teach you how to leverage those stories, but if you can't identify those things and overcome them, you're not going to make it as business. You're going to live in a scarcity mindset. You're never going to find abundance. You're always going to be desiring, which in and of itself is a horrible thing. And you're just going to effectively shit on yourself over and over and over again, which I know firsthand because I did it for like 8 years. Yeah. Like, I was the person that got in my own way when I tried to go online, and I had some of the assets, man. Like, I was the first spokesmodel with bodybuilding.com, and I had people in my DMs of Body Space back in the day. Like, dude, talk about sliding up in the DM. I was like one of the first.
we just brought that app up the other day.
Yeah, it still exists, by the way.
That's crazy. Yeah. But I was like one of the first there, and I had people asking for help all the time, except my insecurity around my ability to deliver to each and every person was there. And so half the time I didn't answer the questions, or I didn't make a sale, or I didn't make an offer. And I knew intuitively back then I probably could be making a lot of money, but I had the insecurity. And so it wasn't until several years later that I had the skill set that at that point I could confidently tell anybody, if you pay me X number of dollars, I'll deliver X result. And our business was able to scale from there. So
that's where the experience and education part comes in, and putting the work at the self-mastery like you're talking about. Because a lot of times I'll get somebody that will be asking about, I want to build something just like Mind Pump, and how did you guys blow up so fast? I'm like, well, it was fast to you.
Overnight, bro.
Because you found me last week, and then you see where we're at.
Decade.
I said, but I'm like on year 20, bro. And like there was a lot of mistakes and a lot of failures and a lot of learning that I had to do to get to the place to even find partners like this, to even have an idea that this business would solve a bunch of problems. Like, so you gotta remember that they all want to fast forward right to the hack the Instagram algorithm and get 1 million followers. Like, no, you don't. It's just like I tell people too that are always like, man, don't you guys want to be on Joe? I used to say we don't want to be on Joe Rogan. We probably could handle it today, maybe today, but just a year ago even. Everyone thinks that just getting in front of all these people is the answer to having this super.
It'll crush you too. Yeah. If you suck, you're gonna hammer yourself just as much as you could potentially boost yourself up. Yeah,
well, dude, creating hyper awareness, and let's just say you actually sell all of the clients of the people that are looking at you. If you can't fulfill, all you've done is created the perfect storm for being known as the coach that sucks.